Yes, Brazil does know how to throw a party. The closing ceremonies of the 31st Summer Games had the entire planet dancing to a samba beat after a fortnight that included plenty of tales of great sporting performances and sportsmanship. Rio pulled it off. But wait, now comes the bill, and it's a stiff one. We'll look at the unfinished projects, the murky bookkeeping, the Olympic-sized debt, and a regularly scheduled political crisis that resumes this week with the trial in the Senate of Brazil's impeached president, Dilma Rousseff. Can Brazil be proud, or will it regret hosting the Games? What lessons for cities like Tokyo, which hosts the next Olympics, or Paris, which is bidding for 2024? Are they worth it? Today in the France 24 debate, we're looking at what will be Rio's legacy. With us, France 24's Elliot Richardson. Thank you for being with us. Thanks as well to Ligia Marocosta, who teaches at FGP Sao Paulo University.
Good to be here.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
And from Oxford University, Bent Flyberg, co-author of the Oxford Olympic Study 2016, Cost and Cost Overrun at the Games. Thanks for joining the France 24 debate.
Pleasure.
The France 24 debate, where you can join the conversation, and you have on Facebook and Twitter, our hashtag F24debate. Now, the outset of after the closing, just before the closing ceremonies, it was a short power outage at the Maracana Stadium before the closing ceremonies. Many saw that as prescient, but the story that I want to start with you, Elliot Richardson, is what your defining moment of the Games were. We saw the big name stars like Michael Phelps winning that record haul of gold medals, Usain Bolt in athletics. What will be the defining moment of these Games for you?
I think if you're talking about established stars, François, I think Usain Bolt, Mo Farah, example, have proved themselves before, and they proved themselves again to become really fantastic and, well, world-class Olympians. But I think if you're on about emerging stars, I think it's always great to see new talent coming through. You've got the US gymnast Simone Biles, who won 4 gold medals and a bronze at the age of 19 years of age. You've got Adam Peaty, the British swimmer in the pool, who took Britain's first gold medal in these Games. He's a real emerging star. He smashed the world record in the breaststroke. And but for me, Wade van Niekerk, the South African, the 400-meter final, he didn't just beat the world record, which was held by 17 years by the American great Michael Johnson. He absolutely obliterated it, 43.03, if my memory's correct, his winning time. And he beat the defending champion, Karani James, and also a former champion, LaShawn Merritt. And I don't think many people were talking about Van Niekerk really before this race. I think he was widely expected to finish in 3rd in that one, but he smashed the world record.
One of the great things about the Olympics is we get a chance to see all those sports we don't usually get to see, everything from taekwondo and judo to fencing and track cycling and this sort of thing. There were new sports. It was a mixed bag, wasn't it, having golf and rugby sevens?
Oh, it certainly was. I'm a big rugby fan myself, so I was delighted for that to be included in the Games. I mean, Fiji winning it was absolutely perfect. They were the best team throughout. Golf took a barrage of criticism before the Games because of the amount of top names that are actually, well, that dropped out of the tournament. And I think Justin Rose showed real Olympic enthusiasm in that one. He was a big advocate of golf, and I think that largely passed off very well. And I think you're right, François. I think it's wonderful to give sports that don't quite come into the limelight very much their moment in the spotlight, like your taekwondos, your judos, table tennis even, badminton, the list goes on.
Bent, let me ask you, because you're an economist, and it really seems as though money matters when it comes to the Olympics. If we're just talking about sporting results, that UK lottery money seems to have paid off, with the British finishing ahead of China in the medals table.
Yeah, that is a pretty amazing result, and I think it shows that it pays off to invest in your athletes. And Great Britain decided to do this very deliberately before London 2012, and they've kept it up, and it's really paying off now, and it did too during London 2012.
What was your moment of the Games?
Well, that was yesterday when Denmark got gold in handball, of course.
You had to mention it.
But I really enjoyed the road bike racing on the first couple of days, both the men's and the women's. I actually thought they were better than the whole of Tour de France this year.
All right, so the road bikes. How about you, Dilma Rousseff? What was your moment of the games?
As all Brazilians, first of all, the gold medal for soccer and for volleyball. I think these are, the best for Brazilians. It was the first time that Brazil gets an Olympic golden medal for soccer, so it was very important for our country. And second, we play again with Germany. I suppose that everybody remembers the World Cup, the 7-1 against Germany, so it was very complicated, and I think that it was good for all Brazilians.
Did these games go as well, better, not as well? Did they live up to your expectations?
I think that, yes, they did. They did. Regarding even the athletes in Brazil, I think that we got more medals than we used to have. And regarding also the expectation, I think that everybody was quite concerned with the games in Brazil, the Olympic Games, especially because Brazil is passing through a very delicate economic moment and political moment, as you have already mentioned.
All right, we're going to mention more on that in a moment. Just a few of the sporting flops, and one that sort of seemed to suck the air out of the news cycle was this U.S. swimmer, Ryan Lochte. He was with a group of three other guys. They'd come from a party at the French Village. They were drunk, and they broke a door in a gas station, claimed they were held up at gunpoint. Now we're finding out that Speedo has dropped its endorsement of Lochte. What's your takeaway from this story?
Well, at first, I think we were all suckered into this story by the Americans to begin with. And, Rio, unfortunately, does have a high crime rate. And I think, was it of a huge surprise when we first heard the outcome, but as the story started to unravel and we realised, hang on, no, there's no corruption here from the officials at all. This is clearly a quartet led by Lochte, I must add, that had deliberately tried to fool everybody, really. And I'm sure he regrets his actions, but it is a bit of a stain on the games. We can't shy away from that. And it is a shame that Lochte, he's a 12-time Olympic medalist, and we expect a lot better. He's a role model for all Brazilians out there as well who perhaps look up to Lochte, a big star coming to their games. And I think he's let everybody down.
Luigi Marocosta, last Friday, the New York Post had as its headline, "The Ugly American," with a picture of Lochte. What do Brazilians make of this?
Oh, I think that Brazil was quite, sad with what has happened, because actually in the beginning the international press has touched a very delicate problem of Brazil. One, corruption, that we are facing a lot of, corruption scandals, so corruption inside the police, even of the fact that the people, according to the deposition, people were dressed as police officer. And second, but not least, the problem that Brazil faces huge internal violence. So it will be, the result of that. And when you found out that, it was not true, it was just, a joke, or, you just want to hide something that you have done that you did not want to be published, and use a problem that the country has, the internal or the domestic violence, it's really not nice to see from an athlete.
All right.
This is, I think, that what Brazilians have felt.
All right, so that was a low point. We can also mention what some are considering a big act of bravery. The silver medalist in the marathon on Sunday, nobody quite understood why he was making this gesture at the finish line. Feyisa Lilela, it was in support of the Oromo people who have there's been a big crackdown since mass protests began back in Ethiopia last November. The government this Monday says he will be welcomed home as a hero. Here's what he had to say, Elliot, though. He said at the press conference afterwards, "The Ethiopian government is killing my people, so I stand with all protests anywhere, as Oromo is my tribe. My relatives are in prison. If they talk about democratic rights, they are killed." There was even talk of him asking asylum, although Ethiopia again says he's welcome back home.
It was, again, it was a state of, it was a message of defiance, really. And I think this is what the Olympics are all about. I think you have people who work their hardest to get to the position where you are, in a position to win medals and represent your country. And I think that you have to respect athletes' opinions. Really, I was all for him coming out and saying that, because I think he wears his heart on his sleeve. He's come home with a silver medal, and I think he will be a hero to many Ethiopians. And I'm sure that Ethiopians from across the world will have supported his message.
And of course, one final moment that a lot of viewers have remembered, including we had reactions from viewers on the France 24 Debate Facebook page, and that was what happened in the 5,000 meters when the U.S. competitor forwent the chance at a medal to help the runner who had fallen from, or is it the other way around? The one from New Zealand who had.
Yeah, it was the American lady did a cruciate knee ligament, and I think this is what the Olympics is all about. I think this is a defining moment. You saw as well, not just that, you saw the North Korean and the South Korean in a photo together, and I thought that was iconic as well. And I think it is a Games which brings people together. There isn't a sporting event like the Olympics in that 206 nations, plus the refugee team, can come together and be as one. And I think that was the epitome of what the Games is all about. I thought that was absolutely marvellous to see, actually forfeiting the chance of gaining a medal.
Ben Fladberg, we talk about those uplifting moments and those moments of bravery. So now, when you take a breath, do you say to yourself, it was worth it or not for Rio to host the Games?
Well, it's not up for me to decide whether it's worth it for Rio. That's up to Rio and Brazil to decide, I think. One of the things we find in our studies is that a lot of the hype that is said about the Olympics, especially when you're in the bid process, saying that we're going to make money off hosting the Games and so on, just doesn't hold up. If you decide to put on the Olympics to make money on the Olympics, you're doing the wrong thing, is our conclusion. But if you're deciding to host the Olympics because you want a boost to public morale, if you want a great party, there is no other sporting event like we just heard on the planet. And for me, that's the most impressive thing watching the Olympics over the past 2 weeks. It's all the energy, the commitment, the zeal that you see with the athletes, the joy, the sadness, the heartbreak, and so on. It's very human in that sense, and it shows a lot of the best sides of humanity really comes out in the Olympics. That is what are the positives, and if you want to support that, if you want to celebrate that, it makes sense to put on the Olympics. If you want to make money, it doesn't.
Want to make money, it doesn't, but what you're describing there, and you're touching at the heart of the problem here, is how do you quantify what is good publicity in this case for Rio and for Brazil?
Well, there's been lots of studies of individual Olympics where you really try to look at everything you can find on the benefit side, and then you try to quantify, like, if we have a better image now, does it mean that more people come to visit? Do we have more tourists? Do we have more people staying overnight in hotels and so on? Is that the case during the Olympics? Is it the case 1 year after? Is it the case 2 years after? And so on. So this has been studied pretty well. And the conclusions are in general that no city, except maybe Los Angeles in 1984, actually made a profit on the Olympics.
No city actually made money off of it. In the case of Rio, what's it looking like? We've seen the stories about how the infrastructure was not completed in some instances. We don't know where some of the money has gone for the Games, which ran way over budget. What's going to be the final bill for Rio and for Brazil?
So we don't know what the final bill is going to be yet, but sort of the preliminary bill is $4.6 billion US. And you're right, there is a cost overrun, or a budget overrun of 51%, so $1.6 billion US. I have to say, though, when we compare this with all the other Olympics since 1960, this is actually not a bad result, The cost overrun is lower in Rio is lower than the average cost overrun. And it's in line with the cost overrun since 2000, other Olympics since 2000, and the same with the budget. And in fact, the last Summer Olympics in London was 3 times as expensive as the preliminary figure that we have for Rio. We have to say that some of these numbers are quite uncertain, though, because it's easy to hide expenses. You can hide expenses for the Olympics in parts of the municipal budget, for instance, or other parts of the public budgets, government budgets. So we don't know whether we always have the complete numbers. But even judged on the numbers we have, it's pretty clear that Rio 2016 hasn't cost as much as London 2012, which also you wouldn't expect to be the case.
All right, so hard to quantify expenses, hard to quantify benefits. Reaction on Twitter: nice job, Rio. You faced heavy challenges, but did it with class. You threw the world a great party. On to Tokyo, says this viewer. Ligia, let me ask you, though, about Rio. A lot of people are angry at the mayor. And they're saying there's a lot of money unaccounted for. Especially some of the public transportation projects are not finished, and they wonder if they'll ever be. Is he accountable, or do you give him an easy ride listening to Bent there, since it didn't cost as much as, say, London?
It did not cost as much as London, only because we didn't have the money anymore. And many corruption and engineering companies have been caught, and the CEOs are in jail or facing time. So maybe that's the reason why we did not use all the money. In any case, I think that from a Rio perspective, it was good for the city. The city, even for Brazilians, it is considered as very violent. And during the Olympics, it was shown that it's possible, actually, to control the violence in Rio de Janeiro. It is true that we had a huge forces controlling that, but I think that it was positive to see that we can solve the problem, one of the problems of the city. Second, regarding public transportation, it's much better than we used to have. So yes, there are a lot to be done that was on the paper and did not show up and did not come up. However, there was one line that it was finished. So public transportation is going to improve in the city. And compared to what Brazil has spent on the World Cup, what we are going to pay, because not only the city of Rio de Janeiro that is going to pay, it's all Brazilians that are going to pay, as we are a federation, but a very special federation. I think that, you know, it's really worth what the world was capable to see in Rio de Janeiro.
Worth it because it showcases Brazil.
It showcases Brazil, it showcases how beautiful Rio de Janeiro is, and show that, you know, we can change the city. And especially the worst problem that we face, one of the worst problems that we face in Brazil, which is domestic violence, it can be controlled.
All right, when we come back, we're going to pick up on those points and look at the challenges that faces Brazil, where the party is now over. We'll tell you why. You're watching the France 24 debate.